Hey, Jim Wolf here with dating advice for men who love women. When you're interested in a woman, should you assume that she's interested in you as well? Or is that not a good idea? That's what this presentation is about. And honestly, it's actually pretty difficult for most men to determine if a woman is actually interested in him or not. And this is the kind of paradigm shift that can improve your results with women for the rest of your life. And here's the thing. Most guys who've never taken any time to learn anything about attraction and dating and love constantly overrate a woman's interest in them. In fact, studies show that men regularly misinterpret all kinds of signs in all sorts of situations, thinking that they mean that a woman wants them, when in fact she doesn't at all. So studies show that men have a tendency to overrate female interest in them. And if you think about that, it actually makes evolutionary sense because there's a pretty low penalty for just assuming a woman wants you, pressing the issue with her a little bit, and then later just discovering that she's not interested and moving on from there. And now here's the thing. On the other side of that coin, if you never think a woman might be interested in you, you're not very likely to try anything with her, so the chances of having offspring drop to zero. So it makes sense why men might be programmed in some way to think that women are more interested in them than reality would dictate. It serves a beneficial purpose for men to overrate female interest. Because if a guy assumes that a woman likes him, he might try something with her, and if she actually does like him, then it might work out with her. However, if he never thinks that women are interested in him, then he's probably never going to take action and nothing's ever going to happen. So it makes sense why men might have this bias a little bit. And this is also what a lot of dating experts out there recommend when they're talking to men. They recommend that you assume that a woman's interested in you until she actively rejects you. That's really common advice in the men's dating world. And I mostly agree with that premise in general. However, I want to offer you a more nuanced approach for the thinking man, especially if that man wants to be in a long-term relationship with a woman versus just filtering out women who won't hook up with him immediately. So this advice is if you want a long-term relationship, you want a girlfriend or you want a wife, versus you just want to find out what women are interested in hooking up with you immediately. Those are two completely different goals. And this advice applies specifically to situations where you want a long-term relationship. And this topic is also more important than it was before because the penalty for misreading a woman's interest in you can be higher these days. So should you assume a woman's interested in you? Well, listen, here's something that I constantly stress in all of the advice that I give to men. Female interest is the number one factor in a long-term romantic relationship. Her interest in you is the number one factor in your relationship with a woman. It's her interest in you that matters, not how much you like her. And what most guys out there do is they get fixated on one woman and then they just project their high interest in her onto her. And that means that at least subconsciously they think something like, well, I like her, so she must like me. And that's just pure projection and wishful thinking. Because again, your interest in a woman is completely separate from her interest in you. Or they don't consider her interest level at all, and they just try to get her without even thinking about it. On the other hand, some guys out there don't think any woman, or at least the kind of women that they really want, could possibly be interested in them. And that's simply a lack of self-worth and self-esteem, and it's not based on reality either. So there's a reality out there of female interest, and then there are some guys who constantly overrate female interest in them, and then there are other guys who have low self-worth and self-esteem that never could possibly think that any woman could possibly be interested in them. And those are two of the most common mindsets that men have when they're dating a woman. So if both of those approaches are not ideal, what's the most rational approach to attracting women? Should we assume a woman's interested in us and push things until she actively rejects us or accepts our advances? Or should we assume that she might not be interested and then go find out? Well, here's my philosophy that I have developed over the last 20 years or so, and it works really well for my top clients, so it might work for you as well. When you want to attract a particular woman, assume she might be interested in you, because that's the actual reality. You really don't know for sure either way, and it doesn't serve you to overrate or underrate her interest in you when you simply just don't know, and then go find out. So you want to assume she might be interested in you, which is the truth, and then go find out for sure. And then, here's the biggest key to this. Be okay with it either way. So you want to assume she might be interested in you, go find out for sure, and then be okay with it either way. And now let's break down how to actually do just that. If you want to find out if a woman's really interested in you or not, you can't just base it on what she says to you, or your feelings, or your thoughts. You have to use what I call checkpoints. Because checkpoints are the only signs you can consistently rely on when it comes to female interest. And here are the checkpoints that you can use to determine whether a woman is genuinely interested in you or not. She engages in a conversation with you instead of trying to ignore you. That's the first one. So far, so good. She gives you her number or texts you after you give her yours so that you have her number too. She accepts your date invitation when you ask her out. She shows up for your date. And remember, many women will agree and then cancel on you in those precious few hours right before your date with her. She kisses you or kisses you back when you go for a kiss by the end of the second date. She shows up for your third date. This is a big one. I've talked about this a lot in my other videos, but I think you should consider your first impression with a woman as the first 3 dates. Not just your first conversation with her, not just your first date or your first 2 dates. Your first 3 dates with a woman form the foundation of her first impression of you, and those first 3 dates are the foundation of your relationship with her. So if she shows up for a third date with you, that's a very strong indicator that she's actually genuinely interested in you, especially if she kissed you or kissed you back by the end of the second date when you went for a kiss. And then the next checkpoint is when she brings up the idea of being in a relationship with you, which will usually happen between dates 6 to 9 or so, depending on how high her interest is and if you're doing everything right with her or not. So those are the only checkpoints that matter. That's how you tell if she's for real or if she's just flirting with you, if you're projecting your interest on her or if she actually has interest in you. That's the only way you can tell. Until you get to a checkpoint and see if she passes it or not, you really don't know for sure. But with each checkpoint that she passes, you can be more and more confident that her interest in you is real. And so if she just has a nice conversation with you, that's one checkpoint, but it doesn't necessarily mean she's interested in you. If she gives you her number without any resistance, that's another checkpoint. And it's a little bit better than just having a fun conversation with you, because that's a little more real. And then when you ask her out for a date and she says yes, that's a little bit bigger. That's a real indicator of interest. But it's even more important that she shows up for the date. And so each time she passes one of these checkpoints, you can be more and more sure that she's interested in you. And until a woman passes these checkpoints over time, there's no other way to know for sure if she's actually interested in you or not. And again, remember that her interest in you is the most important factor in your relationship with her. You want to be with a woman who wants to be with you. Everything is better when you're with a woman like that versus one who's indifferent towards you. And so if you're not doing it already, make sure you're paying attention to her interest in you and reading these checkpoints. And what you want to do is assume that she might be interested in you, and you want to act as if she is interested in you, and then just keep leading everything along properly. For example, asking for her number, asking her out again, going for a kiss, etc. You just lead her through those checkpoints and then see if she passes those checkpoints to find out her true interest level. And again, the more checkpoints she passes, the higher her interest in you. And if she doesn't pass one of those checkpoints, chances are very high that she's not interested in you, and then your best play is to move on to a woman who is interested in you. And that brings us nicely to the second part of this equation, which is how to be okay with it if it turns out that a woman's not interested in you. This is very important for your long-term success. Well, the first thing that you can do to be okay with it if a woman's not interested in you is to cultivate more than one option. Because if you're dating 2 or 3 women that you like, it's a lot easier to take it when you find out that one of them isn't into you versus just investing all of yourself into one woman you don't even know very well yet and then getting completely destroyed when you're simply not her type. We want to avoid that. The second thing that you can do to be okay with it if a woman's not into you is to actively create a life you love, whether any particular woman is with you or not. If you genuinely love your life with or without a woman, it definitely softens the blow a little bit. Because you have many sources of satisfaction in your life, not just one. Your life being good or not is not dependent on an outcome with one particular woman. And by the way, if you create a life that you genuinely love living and that you're excited about, that provides a much healthier environment to form a relationship if a woman is interested in you. So you want to do that for yourself first, but it will also definitely help you with dating and relationships and help soften the blow if one particular woman just isn't into you. And the third thing that you can do to truly be okay with it if a woman's not into you is to build a strong social circle around you that supports you. Because if you have a lot of awesome friends to hang out with, that definitely helps soften the blow as well. And they can also introduce you to more awesome women. So the bigger and more supportive your social circle is, the more opportunities you'll have, and the easier it will be for you to process it if a woman just doesn't think that you're her type. And the last thing that you can do to soften the blow when a woman's not into you is to remember that a woman can't actually make you happy. Only you can do that. Now, a good woman can add a lot to your happiness, can make your life miserable, but no woman can make you happy, no matter how awesome she is, even if she wants to. Only you can make yourself happy. So what you want to do is make yourself happy first, and then share that happiness with someone. And add to her happiness while she adds something to your happiness that's already there. And by the way, one proven way to create that happiness for yourself is to actively express gratitude on a regular basis and at the same time, pursue your true desires. So if you consistently express gratitude for what you already have and you take action towards your genuine desires, you will feel generally happier in your life. And also keep in mind that your worth as a man has nothing to do with whether one particular woman likes you or not. I mean, most women out there are probably attracted to Brad Pitt. However, there are definitely some women who don't find him all that attractive compared to their ideal type. And so there's not really a man out there who's universally attractive to all women. And what that means for you is that just because one woman isn't into you, it doesn't mean that a lot of other women that are just as awesome and beautiful as her won't be into you. Her interest in you or not has nothing to do with all the other women out there. So just because one woman isn't into you or doesn't think that you're her type, that doesn't mean that 100 other women aren't going to like you. So again, I highly encourage you not to get so hung up on one particular woman so fast. Especially because you don't even know if she's interested in you or not. And again, what matters is if she's interested in you. So instead, take your time when you're dating a woman. Assume that she might be interested in you so that you can take action and lead that attraction process forward, and then find out the reality of how interested she is by using those checkpoints. And if you find out that she is interested in you, raise her interest in you as high as you can and build a great relationship with her. And if she's not, just move on to the next woman. It's okay to feel that little sting of pain when you discover the truth that a woman you're into isn't into you. However, it's not okay to let that stop you from continuing your life and moving forward. So yeah, go ahead and be overconfident that all women are super into you in general, so that you can build up the courage to go start a conversation with that gorgeous woman in the coffee shop, because that definitely helps. And then, from that place of internal strength, again, just realize that this is all about female interest level. They do the choosing first, and then we choose. We have very little control over female interest, except for your ability to raise your value in general. For example, by working out, dressing well, eating well, etc. The truth is that we simply don't know which women are going to be interested in us and which ones are not. And we can't tell just by looking at them or having one conversation with them. We have to actively find out. And as long as you don't have some big negative reaction or keep pressing the issue when you discover that a woman's not interested in you, then it's completely fine and a good thing for you to approach her and give it a shot. So use a little bit of overconfidence to take action and go over and start a conversation with her and ask her out on a date and to go for a kiss, etc. And then at the same time, pull it back a little bit and find out what her interest level really is after that. Being able to assume that a woman's probably into you because you're an awesome guy, and then also being completely fine with it if it turns out that you're not her type, is a dating superpower for a man. It's the concept of push-pull in action. And if you apply this dating philosophy to multiple awesome women versus just getting all worked up over one that may or may not be interested in you, it works like a charm. So when you're interested in a woman, assume that she might be interested in you, and then go take action to find out if she really is or not. Because that philosophy will never let you down. And if you want to find out exactly how to raise a woman's interest in you once you find out that she actually does have some interest in you, go grab our best-selling Attract and Keep Her system if you haven't already. Inside the Attract and Keep Her system, you'll discover exactly what to do step by step from the first moment that you meet a woman you're attracted to until she falls deeply in love with you, becomes your girlfriend or even your wife, and then how to build a great relationship with her that's satisfying for both of you as long as you want to be with her after that. So again, if you're not part of this dating and relationship revolution yet, and you want to know exactly how to make a woman fall in love with you, and then keep her in love with you as long as you want to be with her, go grab your copy of Attract and Keep Her by going to attractandkeepher.com/system. That's attractandkeepher.com/system right now. And as a thank you for checking out this presentation, we have some free gifts for you as well. We have some advanced free training for you, and you can get that by going to datingadviceformenwholovewomen.com. That's datingadviceformenwholovewomen.com. I'm Jim Wolf with Dating Advice for Men Who Love Women. From now on, assume that women might be interested in you, and then just take action to find out.